Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show. Wave your hand out there, baby!
Shout out to the show.
She puts the pinky into the nostril. Man, look at that.
Healthy competition, there's nothing like it.
Y'all grow up.
The line's wrapped around the stadium.
Different strengths. I just lost a tooth.
It's going to be fun.
You know, we might have a story.
I love what you're doing.
Ogeron wants to take us fishing this afternoon.
Sharif, you play for the bad boys of the SEC, man. We don't apologize to anybody.
A lot of people are saying you're going to be wearing number 7.
I don't really know. I want to.
He look crazy, Bill. Good feet on the old man.
This is some back.
We'll be right back with the Jordy Culotta Show. Welcome into a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always built by our friends over at RMB Builders. Shout out to our crew and Rhett over there at RMB. Find them online at rmb-builders.com or search them on Instagram at RMB Builders. Our phone line daily brought to you by our friends over at Southern Regional Medical Center, formerly Metropolitan Health Group. Still same great services and people. Jason Ramazan and Charlie Harvey get in touch with the crew over there at Southern Regional Medical Center. As on the phone line today, we will have Dr. Jeremy Burnham from Ochsner Sports Medicine, as he will stop by this morning and talk to us a little bit about what's coming up here in the football season. And if you have an athlete that you are looking to get care for, Dr. Burnham will tell you about a lot of the specialists that they have over at Ochsner coming up here in a couple of minutes. And then Shay Dixon will be through here at 7:30 this morning. Shay will come through in his regular Friday spot and give us a recap on yesterday's commitments, as LSU was 1 for 2 on the Duncanville commitment. Says yesterday, 5-star edge rusher Colin Simmons committed to Texas over LSU. And we mentioned the last 48 hours, you heard a lot of the rumors that Texas had really picked up the intensity, especially from an NIL standpoint. And I don't think that really that Colin Simmons was hiding it when he gave the quote afterwards, when he was talking about taking care of his family and that Texas had just giving him a great opportunity to do that. That's the rules that are in place now, and that's kind of the lay of the land. I'm not saying that Texas did anything wrong to get Colin Simmons, but it came down to the end, and he chose the Longhorns. There's still a lot of time left in this recruitment. I say a lot of time, up until mid-December on Simmons, on when you can. Is he going to February?
I don't think he's going to February, but he has an LSU visit scheduled.
Yeah, no, he's got an official scheduled in November.
Mm-hmm. But I would think it's December, like signing.
Yeah, right. I would think that he would be an early signing guy. But in the sense of just from a bidding war, right? Like we said, the way that LSU kind of plays the NIL game is that they use NIL on their roster. I mean, they pay, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Mason Smith and Harold Perkins and, guys that are already on campus. Rarely do they get into, and I know that this, by the letter of the law is deemed illegal, but, let's be realistic about how this stuff is operating. When you've got a guy like Colin Simmons on the board, money is being discussed, and, rightfully so. And, the scope of the recruit that Colin Simmons is today, take the number one player at that position back 30 years, and people have been paying to get this guy. So, it's just this is how it operates. And Texas has got deep pockets. And a lot like what we talked about yesterday, in the sense of, this is their Leonard Fournette. This is their number one player that comes along that is that revolutionary type guy that you just can't miss if you're in state. Right? It is a mark against the head coach, the recruiting office, the program, if you miss on a guy like Simmons. And whoever has the direct line to the guy who cuts the check, said, don't let us lose. Outbid everybody. And if that's the case, which, some of the quotes seemed like it was definitely, part of the decision making, then that seems to be an unwinnable fight for a lot of people who want to fight Texas on that. If they make their mind up that they're going after somebody and they're not going to lose them, then, it's almost kind of like, what else can you really do? But you lose Simmons and you pick up Caden Durham. So Simmons is gone, right? Simmons is at Texas. LSU gets the top running back in the state of Texas, and as we said, move them from a outside of the top 10 to inside of the top 10 from this class from a 2024 standpoint. It was a huge commitment yesterday at Duncanville for LSU to be the winner on Caden Durham in a running back season, in a running back recruiting cycle where in the state of Louisiana there just wasn't that guy. There wasn't that guy that really moved the meter for LSU. Not like Caleb Jackson, not like Trey Holly, not like Harlan Berry, not like Simon out of North Louisiana for next season. In this cycle, there's just not that Louisiana guy at that position that, LSU's got us zeroed in on. Frank Wilson made his mind up. He was going after Caden Durham. He made his mind up very early, and when that was his approach, it was going to be tough for Durham to get out of his sights. Oklahoma was a really tough and put up a really good fight on Durham. They ended up landing the number one running back in the country, I believe. Oklahoma did over the last couple of weeks, and that's when you really saw the signs start to shift for Durham to LSU. So a big day for LSU nonetheless. I thought that, going 1 for 2 on that high school campus with those caliber of recruits is a really good day in recruiting, no matter who it is. And for LSU to, kind of land Durham like they did yesterday was a big win for the program. As we said, Durham's going to be a two-sport guy. His mom, Stanisha Bell, was a standout track athlete, decorated sprinter for the Sooners. So it was a big win for LSU. And if you kind of follow this recruiting, and we'll talk to Shea about it coming up here at 7:30 this morning, his junior season really kind of kicked off his recruitment. LSU had him on campus back in January, which is when he made kind of the face-to-face visit with the staff. In early April, I think they extended the offer in both track and in football. And then LSU got him back on campus in April as well. So they had really set their sights on Caden Durham and were able to close on him yesterday. And it was a big, big get for LSU. So we'll talk about all of this recruiting when Shea gets here. So line up all your questions. If you want to get in on them, obviously we'll ask him about the 2 commitments that were made yesterday. We'll ask him about what's happening now with, seasons really starting to crank up, whether it's high school football practice getting going. LSU was in pads for the first time yesterday. Stewie was out there. We're going to practice report. But first we want to jump over and talk to our friends over at Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. We've been telling you about our partnership with Ochsner over the last week. And as we've been reminding you, it doesn't matter if you're a pediatric patient or if you're a high school athlete. It doesn't matter if you're a member of the New Orleans Saints or Pelicans, if you're a weekend warrior or even a senior citizen. All of the athletes can turn to Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute for care, which has been serving Louisiana and Mississippi and beyond, and they're ready to help you move past whatever sports injury that you face every single day. You can log online at ochsner.org/sportsmedicine. They will have a 24-hour sports injury number for you in the Baton Rouge area that we will remind you about. I give you that number, 225-761-5895. But we're about to link up with Dr. Jeremy Burnham from over there, who will tell us a little bit about what's coming up at Ochsner and some of the specialists, and just a little bit of a primer for the season. We won't spend a lot of time with Doc, but just want to give, if you're a parent out there, if you're heading into the sports season and you want to create a checklist to make sure everybody's kind of safe and sound this year, you can jot down some numbers, some websites, and some services, as well as some specialists of doctors that Dr. Burnham will tell us about real quick, but that Ochsner features over at the Sports Medicine Institute, the Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. So we'll break. We'll be right back, and we will have Dr. Burnham coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders.
Red Stick Sports, a local staple in Baton Rouge to all sports fans, was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check them out online at redsticksports.biz.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks. Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team. Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
All right, stick around. Shay Dixon stopping by in studio in a couple of minutes. We'll talk recruiting. LSU lands 4-star running back yesterday, Caden Durham, which shifts their class to top 10 in the country. We'll talk to Shea on who could be next coming up for the Tigers. They did miss on a defensive lineman, so where do they go from that position group? Dominic McKinley out there, LSU in the top 5. We've been talking about our partnership over with Ochsner Sports Medicine, Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. Really fired up about this. Obviously coming up this season with football season on the horizon. And if you have an athlete out there, if you're an athlete and you're trying to get back into the game, if you are a parent and you're looking for some options coming up this season, remember our friends over at Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine. We've been telling you about the website online, ochsner.org/sports medicine. The injury clinic going to be open on Saturday morning starting August 26th. That'll be the morning after Jamborees, and it'll run through the end of the regular season on November 4th. It'll stay open 8 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. over there at the Grove campus in town here in Baton Rouge at Ochsner. Phone number is 225-761-5895. And Dr. Jeremy Burnham, who's a great friend, first, a high school classmate and somebody who I grew up with and now experiencing great success over at Ochsner, heading up. What's that?
He got out the call. I don't know if he was just looking at the screen and he didn't know what was going on. So because he was in there.
Okay. Well, we'll wait to link back up with Dr. Burnham when he does. We'll talk to him. We mentioned about recruiting, and we're going to talk to Shea here coming up. It was also LSU was back on the field yesterday, and Mike Denbrock was speaking as well. Mike Denbrock, of course, offensive coordinator in the second season. And my biggest takeaway from listening to Denbrock speak is a lot what we took away from listening to Brian Kelly speak for the first time here in fall camp, which was just the comfort level, the ability to kind of step back and relax and know that, everything's kind of installed, right? I mean, you've got veterans, you've got guys now with experience, you've got guys who have gone through the practices, you've gone through the installations, you've gone through, all the meetings, and you don't have to go through that on the field of, setting your process. Kind of getting to know your players, getting to know your coaches, getting to know each other. Going through all of that. It seems like that has been, a bridge that has been crossed over and now given a lot of relief to all the coaches. And I'd imagine it happens on each side with the players too, right? Where you just got a firm understanding of what the expectation is day in, day out. You don't have to ask, what the questions are or what's going on or, what could be next. People have a firm idea of what the expectation and where people are supposed to be. And, that was first and foremost what I thought and took away from Mike Denbrock speaking and meeting with the media yesterday, was that he had a comfort level. We'll get back to some of Denbrock. In fact, we got some cuts from Denbrock yesterday at media that we'll get to. Stewie cut those up and was over at the press conference. But first, let's get over to the Grove campus over at Ochsner. I was over there earlier this week. A beautiful campus with Dr. Jeremy Burnham, who is with us this morning. Doc, it's great to see you. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Good to see you too, Jordy.
Yeah, man. I've been telling our listeners about our partnership coming up this year, and man, we're really excited to be partnered up with Ochsner and everything that you guys got going on over there, but specifically with the Andrews Sports Medicine Clinic. Can you tell us a little bit about your partnership with Dr. James Andrews and what this means for the Baton Rouge area?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Andrews is one of those guys that almost everything that we've done in sports medicine comes from some of the ideas and some of the examples set forth by Dr. Andrews. He's the most known sports medicine physician in the world. And so to be able to partner with Dr. Andrews means a lot, but particularly because he's from Louisiana. And he wanted to come back and invest in his home state. And so it really allows us to take all of the building blocks of sports medicine that Ochsner already had in place and join forces with Dr. Andrews to make that even better and make some of those services available in Baton Rouge and the surrounding communities.
You've got a group of doctors over there that are specialists, right? They're specialists in certain areas. So if a young athlete or a weekend warrior or a professional athlete experiences an injury specific to a body type, you've got doctors on hand that can help them out.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordy. The great thing about sports medicine is it's a team sport. And I think just like all of us, grew up playing team sports and having that camaraderie and recognizing that there are different positions on the team and, you need running backs, you need offensive linemen, you need all these different things. It's really the same thing in sports medicine. And so we have specialists that cover every joint of the body. And so if you hurt your ankle, we have somebody that could specialize in just ankles, same thing, shoulder, knee, and all those types of things. But also non-surgical or non-joint related issues like concussion, heat exhaustion, heat illness. After, COVID, obviously there was a lot of focus on the cardiac issues and things that may happen, vaccinations, making sure that COVID didn't spread more. And so that's where you really need a team of people to be involved.
Speaking of your team of people, you got a great group over there. Talk to me about some of the doctors that you have on hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have both surgical specialists and non-surgical specialists. We always think about sports medicine injuries and ACL tears and things like that oftentimes do need surgery, but a lot of things don't need surgery. And in fact, probably, 90% of sports injuries are non-surgical. And so, we have specialists that, like Dr. Chris Bankhead, who is one of our orthopedic surgeons. Chris Bankhead does a lot of shoulder surgery. But he's one of those people that's very, very good surgeon all the way around. He's kind of a renaissance man. He's very knowledgeable about a lot of topics. He's somebody that you could sit around and talk about, sports history, what's going on in sports now. He's also an avid golfer and just really has a great skill set and a great physician. We have 3 primary care sports medicine doctors, and primary care sports medicine is focused on orthopedic injuries as well, but those that may not need surgery for treatment, which is the vast majority of them. And so we have Dr. Sean Bradley, Dr. Jeff Hogan, and Dr. Michael Billison, who are our primary care sports medicine doctors. And all 3 of them are just really phenomenal docs that all kind of have their specialties. Dr. Hogan played basketball at Tulane. Dr. Billison ran track at Tulane. And so they really understand what we're going through or what the athletes are going through when they come see us.
Doc, high school football practices are cranking up across the state this week. Obviously, with Friday nights, that brings a lot of intensity, a lot of passion, and also brings injuries. You guys over at Ochsner will be open on Saturday mornings with a sports clinic. Tell our parents out there how they can find it and how they can get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, so we're going to have a Saturday morning clinic. It's going to start the first weekend of football season. It's going to be open from 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. It's right here at the Grove. The Grove is right off of I-10, right by the mall. You can walk in, if you need to. You can call our main Ochsner number as well if you want to schedule an appointment with us. But certainly we're just trying to have that open access. And I hope that it's a low injury year and there aren't many things going on. But if there are, we're going to be available there to give a quick diagnosis and treatment plan.
Yeah, and you can see on sidelines on Friday nights, Ochsner all over the state, all over the city, their partnership and what it means to high school football and how involved they are. Doc, we are so grateful for the partnership and looking forward to the season. And as we've told our listeners, we will be touching base with you all throughout the year, whether it's talking specifically about injuries that we see in action on weekends or just kind of touching base on how people can keep up with getting back onto the field. And like we said, we appreciate this platform and being able to share it with you guys.
Yeah, looking forward to working with you guys on this.
Thank you, Doc. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Dr. Jeremy Burnham checking in this morning from Ochsner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute. You can get in touch with them online at ochsner.org/sports medicine. All right, Shay Dixon going to stop in here in a couple of minutes, and when he does, we will talk and shift to recruiting. But, Stewie, you were out at practice yesterday. We've got some cuts from Mike Denbrock. As I said, we were talking and listening to what Mike Denbrock had to say after practice yesterday, and my biggest takeaway was just the ease, the relaxed tone of where he is going into year 2, knowing that not only he's got an experienced quarterback, but he's got experience all over the field. Playmakers, it seems like, everywhere. When you talk about this wide receiver core, I know that you have been very impressed with Malik Neighbors early on and maybe potentially what he can accomplish going into a year, which there are very talented wide receivers all over college football, including guys like Marvin Harrison up at Ohio State that's getting a ton of attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think Malik has, and Mike Denbrock says this, they asked him about Malik probably, I think it was the second question, but he just says he likes the way Malik goes about his business every day. And I and I'm with him on that. Like, Malik comes to practice every day, and every day he has a goal to get better. Like, every day he's gotten better in camp. And I didn't think he could get better from his performance last season when he wasn't even wide receiver 1. He was wide receiver 2 and still had 1,000 yards. And now it's just like every day Malik Neighbors is going to make a play. Like, they know it. His teammates know it. The coaches know it. And the media is starting to see it. Like, Malik Neighbors is a premier player in this country.
Is there anybody locking him up? Is there anybody? I mean, not locking him up. Is there anybody like I was watching NFL preseason football yesterday, and it was the Texans and the Patriots, and I thought back to how this must be for Kayshawn and Stingley after the game. I mean, what type of wars they've had over the last couple of years on the practice field. Is there anybody out there that's having that type of back and forth with Malik that's getting the best out of that as well?
If it was anybody that was close to getting the best out of him, it would probably be Deuce Chestnut. But Deuce Chestnut and Zay Alexander are the two that I usually see him going against in like one-on-ones or if it's 7-on-7. And I would say they I'm not gonna say they win their reps, but their reps are technically sound. Like, they're always close to the ball. It's just a bang bang play usually, and Malik most of the time comes down with the ball.
So wide receiver 2, Brian Thomas.
Yeah, wide receiver 2, Brian Thomas.
That rotation, you talking about the freshmen that they could possibly play all of them?
Yeah, the freshmen have been getting a lot of run with the ones. A lot of freshman receivers, freshman tight ends, obviously. Mac Markway is the surprise of the freshman tight ends to me, because I thought he was just coming in to be kind of like the Gilbert kid, more of like a blocking tight end, inline guy. But he's been making plays in the passing game. And they like him. Like, they'll put him out there sometimes before they put Pimpton out there, just because he has the physical tools and he could block, but he could also stretch the field in the passing game.
He was gloating about Markway yesterday. Yeah. I mean, everybody that talks about Mac Markway seems to really be high on the skill set of the route runner, the catcher. I mean, like, it seems like he's. I'm like you, very surprised to hear that. And I don't mean that disrespectful. I just thought that, with the tight end class that they signed, that he was going to be more of a guy that was counted on to be a blocker.
Yeah, and they are counting on him to catch passes this season. Like, when Denbrock talks about the tight ends, he alludes to the fact that Mac Markway is making a point to contribute early and often. So that's the takeaways I've been getting is Mac Markway is probably the freshman tight end that'll probably see the field first.
So we have some of these Denbrock cuts. Mm-hmm. All right. Are the labels in the?
Yeah, I got you.
But let's just start with number 1. I
have his opening statement. So
yeah.
But what you want this time of year, well, you're kind of finding out who you're going to be. And we're still in that process. Obviously, last year as you go through the camp and you go through year 1, you kind of start to define yourself a little bit. And we're in that process for year 2, and it's going to take a minute. It's not immediate, and we're nowhere near where we want to be. I am pleased with the effort that we've gotten to start out camp. We're not that deep into it to draw any conclusions, and I know you're probably going to want to know about this, that, and the other thing. We're not at the conclusion point yet in any way, shape, or form. We've got the rest of this week and a big week coming up next week until we're, 2 weeks out, and those decisions will get made eventually. I think we've got the depth necessary to compete at several positions that we got to kind of let it sort out a little bit and see where it's at. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But overall, I'm really pleased with the effort. I think they want to be really good. I'm not sure all the time we understand what it takes to do that. We're still working on that. We're still fighting through certain situations and certain things that we're going to have to get, whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally stronger as we come together and kind of define throughout the rest of camp exactly what the 2023 version of LSU offensive football is going to look like. But I think I'm encouraged by what I see, and I'm excited by what I see.
Mike Denbrock, offensive coordinator for the Tigers yesterday, meeting with the media for the first time in fall camp, giving his reaction to team weapons. We'll hear from him more coming up here. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Hughes Mechanical Contractors. Hughes offers residential and commercial HVAC and AC, both repair and installation. Right now, air conditioners are premium, right? You got to be your AC needs to be running at full clip, and if it's not, and if you need service, get in touch with our friends over at Hughes Mechanical Contractor. Call Travis and the crew today at 658-2147, 225-658-2147. Remember, our friends over at Hughes Mechanical is a trusted Daikin air conditioning company. At Daikin, that is a residential equipment, the only system that is backed by a 12-year warranty. You can only find that at Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical Contractors, get in touch with them today. They're located out in Zachary, throughout South Louisiana. They service everywhere. 225-658-2147. 225-658-2147 is the phone number. They're online at hughesmechanical.net. More from Den Brock. Here he is yesterday talking about Malik Neighbors, who we were just talking about with Stewie. Here is the offensive coordinator speaking about wide receiver one.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy that, Malik, I have a lot of respect for on a number of different levels, but mostly because he comes to better his craft every single day. There's not a time where he doesn't have his complete attention on getting better at what he does on the practice field. And, people like that, you just naturally kind of, move towards. I mean, he is somebody that is a good example for especially the younger players in our program to watch, to emulate on how to show up every day, how to put yourself in a position where you can improve at the skills necessary. And really look forward to continuing to develop Malik as Malik develops Malik, because that's his mindset, and helping those other guys come along and warm out there.
Den Brock, here he is talking about his quarterback, Jaden Daniels, going into season 2 as a starter here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I just think, year 2 allows him a comfort level from a knowledge standpoint, from a knowledge of not only offense, but knowledge of personnel standpoint, where he feels like he can let it rip a little bit more. And we continue to encourage him to do that more and more and more. And I think he's taken upon himself as much as anything to play that way and be aggressive and make sure that he's given opportunities where they're needed and being smart with the football at the same time, but also understanding that we've got some pretty dynamic people around him that need to have their hands on the football, and he's done a really good job of continuing to develop where that's concerned.
Tight end is a talented spot. Tight end is a very talented group. Mike Denbrock was speaking about that talent in that tight end room yesterday, and just giving an analysis on all of the options that he has there.
Yeah. Mason obviously had a solid year for us a year ago, looking to build on that. Love where he's at from a physical development standpoint, and think the completeness of Mason Taylor's game is really going to come through this year that you guys are going to see. I don't know that I would call him a killer as a blocker a year ago. However, he learned how to survive and did a nice job and continued to develop as the year went along. I think when you move from there, obviously we brought in a junior college transfer, Connor Galbraith, who is more of a big body inline tight end, who I think as experience and his knowledge of what we're doing comes along. From a physical standpoint, he's certainly there, but he's swimming a little bit mentally. But I like what I've seen from him from an aggression standpoint. The younger guys, Jackson Magone, unbelievable route runner, understanding of the passing game, how to create space for himself, how to break down people in man coverage. Is somebody that can definitely help us in the passing game. Now, he's got to continue to work on his weight. He's like 230 pounds. I don't know that I want him blocking many defensive ends. So he's still coming along. I think Mac Markway in particular has had the best camp so far as moving himself in a position to contribute to the team. Through a physicality standpoint, I think he's moving better in space. So there's some things that he can also give us in the passing game, which is which is welcome. And then, KP, Pimpton is an unbelievable physical talent and a raw piece of clay that any tight end coach in America would love to have to work with. And he's got the ability at already gaining probably 15 pounds since he's been here, and getting to 245 as a true freshman, an opportunity to help in both areas of what we ask our tight ends to do, provided he continues to develop, and I believe he will. So there's some blessings aplenty in that room. We got to figure out who fits best and where and how to really utilize those guys the best way. But it's exciting, and it's been a little bit of a journey kind of getting that room where we thought it could really contribute to the way that I believe it will this season.
Mike Denbrock speaking about the tight end room, and you can hear it there. He is blushing when he talks about how talented it is, and when you speak about the youth in that room, where it's Mason Taylor as a sophomore, or guys like Mac Markway and Jackson McGowan and Pimpton, and even Connor Gilbreth, who he talked about was a transfer in guy. He's just got a lot of options there. All right, so recruiting yesterday, it was a big day. It's a big time in the calendar right now, obviously, with high school football cranking up. We trust Shay Dixon and his crew over at On3 more than anyone in this field. They're as good as you'll find in the country covering a specific school. If you check out On3 right now and what they got going on at the Bengal Tiger, it is really in-depth look at Caden Durham and his commitment yesterday and what could be next for LSU. So jump on over at on3.com and grab a subscription over at the Bengal Tiger. It's well worth it heading into the season. And Shea is back with us just like he is every Friday morning here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Shay D, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. First time in the new room, side room.
Yeah, that's right, man. Little side room. That's right.
I didn't notice you picked out 3 nice photos behind you. Those are 4 killers right there.
Classics, right?
I don't even know what.
Look to your left.
Oh boy, I don't even know what order I'd rank them in.
I know it was tough to break down for the 3 for just the shelf here. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen the Kevin Falk, Nikki Savoy picture that is behind us, which is a classic from the mid '90s. Tyrann Matthews punt return, of course, to against Arkansas, and then a young Kobe being guarded by a legend at that time, Michael Jordan. All right, so yesterday, Shay, take me to Duncanville High School. Sammy Speegs.
Day 1 of school.
Middle of it, bro.
Oh, boy. Wrapped up. And y'all produce stuff here. We were on the fly. So
we were all talking about it. The anxiety.
Y'all been there.
Golly.
So, obviously,
Can y'all play videos?
What?
Do y'all do videos? We couldn't do the video. We told them we couldn't do the video, and they still cooked us.
I think that they had done like a whole Zoom setup thing with Duncanville to go over everything.
I'm freaking out right now.
I hear you.
PTSD.
And one of the first things was like, now our Wi-Fi might be spotty, and it's like, whoa. What y'all are like the best football program in the country right now. It's day 1 of school. Your Wi-Fi is spotty in the gym, and then. Spiegelman, he called me after, and he's like, just tell me it was okay. I was like, you made it through. Don't worry.
You're all right.
He said that when they did the run-through, that Caden, he was like, look, this is what we're going to do. And he's like, are you going to stay seated or are you planning to get up? Caden's like, no, I'm going to be seated. And Sam's like, it wasn't 15 seconds in that he's like up, moving around with his sister.
I'm going to just stand up real quick.
So did that, and then Simmons got up, and then after that, I think they were like, let's wrap.
Let's go, bro. Let's get the hell out of here. All right, so let's start with, I want to focus a lot on what they got in Durham.
Sure.
Tell me what they missed in Simmons, where they were in that recruitment, and where were you when he threw the Texas hat on? Were you surprised that was no?
I mean, I think Simmons had a quote to On3 that said it came down to the final days, but he wanted to take care of his mom and his brother, and he said that Texas stepped up and did that. And in this NIL world, I guess you can say things like that, and people get it. And look, he does. He has a special needs brother. I think that for a long time, the idea of not having to uproot the family and move was something that was beneficial to Texas. beyond any NIL stuff or anything like that. And I just describe it as this because it was described to me this way by the Texas side. This was their Leonard Fournette moment. Like, number 1 overall player in the state, which they've signed the number 1 overall player in the state of Texas once in the past decade.
Wow.
And it was B.J. Foster, a safety. It's not like it's an edge rusher.
Right.
And in those 10 years, they never signed a 5-star edge rusher coming out of Texas. So this was kind of that 1-2 combo of, if they didn't get him, much like the Fournette days, it felt, and maybe not so much, but they said if Colin Simmons doesn't pick Texas or doesn't sign with Texas, heads will roll. Like, it was that kind of recruitment. So if you view it through that lens, you understand how much more important it was to Texas. And for that reason, I'm not surprised that they did what they had to do.
Wow. So in that vein, is it over?
I mean, I think it is. I'm certain that Colin will pop back up on campus at some point.
Sure.
And we're riding again. Here we go. We're back on the roller coaster. But yes, I would say if he's picked him now, I'd say it's over.
Okay, so before we get to Durham, what's the emphasis now on defensive line?
Dominic McKinley. And again, it's not quite the same, apples to oranges, but Dominic McKinley is the number 1 player in Louisiana. He is a 5-star defensive lineman, and maybe more importantly than edge right now, he plays D-tackle, which is a position that they have not hit hard, with big names out of the high school ranks. And we saw them last year after Mason Smith went down. They had nobody to rotate. And then this year they had to go heavy in the portal for defensive linemen beyond, Mekhi Wingo and Guillory and guys like that, just so that they would have depth. So that makes Dominic McKinley coming out of Caden all the more important. And September 2nd, their first game is when he's going to announce.
Wow. And he said to expect a surprise, or?
All these kids are saying that, I think.
Yeah.
But I think he said, he did say something along I think it will surprise some people. But Ohio State, Texas, A&M, USC, Oklahoma have all been teams kind of in the mix. 4 of those got official visits in June. LSU doesn't really do that with in-state guys. They hold them till closer to signing day. So I think he's probably, like every school that hosted him is like, oh, we got a shot. So got a little bit of a 4 to 5 man race here.
Tell me about what they get in Durham.
Oh, boy. Not many guys who are 5'10", 5'10", 220, or a little over 200, run sub-10 5s in the 100. He's got some wind-dated 10 2s that he was touching, and like that's what Jelani Watkins is running, and he's your 5'10" speedy wideout, and now your running back runs that. I mean, they were racing against each other in 6A. They had, when Jelani Watkins won the state in the 4x1, Duncanville got second. Caden Durham was running 2 for him. So they are adding some absolute speed in those 2 guys that both have track scholarships at LSU. But think about this. Pop quiz, and then I'll just give the answer. Let you think about it for a second. Who was the last out-of-state running back Frank signed?
I was thinking about this yesterday.
Spencer Ware. That's 13, 14 years ago.
And that was
2010.
And that was really like Stadrawa.
Yeah, I mean, that was the old Midwest days.
Yeah.
And obviously, Spencer went on to have a great NFL career and college career and all that. But it was always Louisiana guys, right? And so for him to circle an out-of-state kid after signing Trey Holly and Caleb Jackson last year, Harlan Berry, number 1 running back in the country next year, and James Simon coming out of North Louisiana as a top 10 running back. So you were kind of had backed, sandwiched in between those 2 years of big-time in-state guys. It was, hey, do we go outside the state? And they circled Durham, and it was definitely Durham or bust. And there were times probably 6 months ago where I was like, man, this is a kid whose mom was a sprinter at OU. He didn't even leave Oklahoma until just before his sophomore year. Then he moved to Texas and went to Duncanville. He's got the area code tattooed on his leg. I mean, Dad and them still live there. He grew up in an Oklahoma household, and for them to be able to, Oklahoma wanted him badly, and everybody thought he was going to go to Oklahoma. So this is why you bring Frank Wilson back, right? Like, he can go out there and win you recruitments like this.
Yeah. The running back room, you mentioned it, next year with Barry and Simon, you've already got Jackson and Holly in. I guess this kind of goes back to what you just said, the Frank Wilson effect in full effect.
Yeah, and I think people look at it now and are like, well, they've got 8 running backs. Like, how do you even convince Durham to come? Half those guys are not going to be on this. I mean, half of them are seniors and guys. If Logan Diggs, has a big year, does he try the NFL waters out? Whatever it might be. So, very quickly, I think we will look up and it will just be those young guys left on roster, and then a guy like Durham. So, I think we will look back on that edition, I think, many times and be like, oh boy, that was a big day for them. If they didn't have him this class, they would have probably had to go portal hunting if that room does get cut in half, like you'd probably think it would be.
What's the calendar now move with high school starting school and high school starting practice, and LSU put the pads on yesterday? How's that changed the recruiting calendar?
Yeah, I didn't realize everybody's in school now. I was driving over here, and it was just
it's mayhem.
Day one, it's Friday. I didn't know that day one for a lot of kids was Friday. Day one for Duncanville was Thursday. What happened to Mondays?
Syllabus.
They don't do that. Good. I always skip those first couple days.
That's right.
Just showed up after that. I don't need to get it. But yeah, they are in a dead period right now. So when September kicks up, it'll be back to hosting kids for games. So that Grambling game, which that same weekend, Jackson State plays Southern here in town.
Yeah.
That'll be a huge weekend.
Wow.
And they'll have a lot of recruits in for that. So that'll kind of be the next step of hosting recruits and being face-to-face with them.
LSU put the pads on yesterday from a practice standpoint. Anything jump out to you here early on in practice?
I think that it's clear that, well, one, on offense, you're so familiar with what they have now, which is a good thing, right?
Are you surprised by Lunsford getting some first-team reps?
I didn't go to practice yesterday. Well, where was Miles Frazier? Was he out or something? I don't know.
Miles Frazier practice.
Yeah. And
really?
Dellinger?
Dellinger's on the other side.
Yeah, okay. I think they'd probably – that's the Brad Davis MO, too. We've seen it to start seasons.
Find the best 5.
Just keep putting guys in there until I figure out who the best 5 are. And he's not afraid to rotate guys during the season. And you know that O-line gets hurt more than any other position. I mean, every week someone's banged up and may or may not be able to go for you. So this is probably just about getting as deep as you can. And hell, you don't sign a transfer veteran O-lineman if you don't plan to give him a little look, see what he's about. But if there's anybody that's put together a solid room, and I guess that goes into what I was saying about the offense, it's Brad Davis has a deep room. Listening to Denbrock before I started, it makes me thought about it again. I mean, I know he's tasked with recruiting tight ends, so you quickly forget about it. He might be one of the best recruiters on the staff. I mean, they had one tight end coming back, Mason Taylor, and he goes out and gets you 3 high school guys, including Pimpton, then turns around and gets you Gilbreth out of JUCO, who had a lot of options and went to LSU and shut it down before even going on his other visits. So I think that now that they've got tight end depth, all 5 O-linemen, and then you throw in a Lunsford or guys like that, throw in Marlon Martinez, 6-7 guys have college starts, Jaden, you got Nuss, and then all these receivers, at least the starting 3, Kyron and BT and Malik all worked with Nuss and Jaden a year ago. You've got 8 running backs, and it's not even like you point to any of the 8 and be like, they'll never play. Like, that guy shouldn't be on LSU's roster. Like, all of them are very good. They've all just got, either they're young or they just got off injury or they haven't, Bradford and Emery, you've been away from the team, now you're back. So it's like everyone comes with a little bit of a question mark, but again, I think that the offense to me just seems like, okay, y'all can really take this to the next level.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of transfers. We mentioned new faces, but one thing that stood out is that this freshman class has made an impact, and not just Lance Hurd and Deshaun Womack. I mean, and Taviano. I mean, it's guys like Mac Markway and Ashton Stamps, and guys that
love Ashton Stamps.
You just maybe didn't have as high expectation, or at least I didn't coming into the season. Did you expect this class to be as deep and impactful as early as they feel like they are?
I knew Markway would have a chance because they had to have a blocker, and that's what he is. I mean, he can be an inline blocker for you. So the worry was that he didn't play his last 2 years of high school football. He was injured. So, I mean, there was a thought. I guess I am surprised that he's out there. He was here in the spring and is holding it down, ready to roll, and that's a great thing because that's what you wanted. So let me think if I'm surprised. Wouldn't be surprised by Hurd. Won't be surprised by anything Womack does this year. Shelton Sampson seems to be creeping up. I didn't know really what the order of receivers, nor do I think we know right now. You signed 4 freshman receivers. Can any of them get out there and get some burn when you did return your 1 and 2 deep, that are guys who that first team have played a ton. The second team is like Hilton and Ibieta and I guess Aaron Anderson. Like certainly those guys will play. But did any of these freshmen play? And Shelton Sampson's been getting some reps with second team and moving up. So I think that's a good thing. Defensively, I guess I am surprised that, and I love Stamps. He's probably one of his biggest fans vocally coming out of high school. I think he's just a really great player, and Rummel produces some great kids. But they signed all those corners out of the transfer portal that I thought it was going to be Denver Harris and somebody else. Now it's Cy Alexander and Deuce Chestnut. And Denver Harris was running third team at times. And you've got Ashton Stamps running second team and Welsh, who's your only returning cornerback on roster that is a scholarship guy. I worry about the corner room. Not that I don't think those guys are talented. I'm with Brian Kelly at Media Day. I have no idea what they'll bring until we go out and play Florida State and they roll out 3 or 4 of the best receivers in the country, and you've got to man up with them in week 1. That's when we'll know.
I know they had to have the numbers, but J.K. Johnson was a guy I think that was really kind of having and trending towards being a frontline player.
And what did Kelly say, that he broke his leg or at least a fracture of some sort that's going to be out for a while, so now you can't count on that, which means that you probably will be counting on an Ashton Stamps, maybe a Toviano dropping down, trying to get creative in different ways, or you just play your best 2 corners and just don't come off the field. Mm-hmm. And if that's Cy Alexander and Chestnut, so be it.
Sage Ryan seems to be having a pretty solid camp.
I'm a big Sage Ryan fan. I know people. It reminds me of how people talked about Damone Clark before he really kind of came through as a senior. And I also feel people think that way about Greg Penn. The staff loves them. They play them all the time. They've got other options. Like certainly there's some redeeming qualities, right? Like these guys are way better football players than you give them credit for.
Right.
I think Sage Ryan's gonna have a breakout year.
I agree. I think,
and he's been getting first team reps at nickel. So, and they're not that deep at safety. So if something happens, he's got to go back there. But I do like the Andre Sam addition.
Yeah,
that was their final piece to add out of the portal, and
that's another Frank Wilson kid,
really
right?
Good. Yeah, he played Frank at McNeese, and then he went to Marshall. Then he transferred home to Tulane in December. But as soon as he got that LSU call, it was like, all right, I'm coming. We got 1 year left. Let's do it. So. And they'll do it. Kelly already said it gives them a chance to do some 3 safety looks, but at the same time, Burns hasn't gone through a whole year where he's been healthy for you, which now you've got another guy at least that you can roll out there in Sam. And if Greg Brooks gets banged up ever, you can start a guy like Sam. If not, he's rotating in plenty. So I think that was an unsung addition for him that happened late over. I think it happened in May actually, that people just kind of probably forgot about. He wasn't there for spring ball or any of that. But, boy, he's looked good in fall camp.
Denbrock kind of perked up when he talked to you about Chris Hilton.
Yeah.
And what's the time on Chris Hilton? It's got to be now, right?
Yes. I would think he's got a couple of years left of it being here. I don't think he's going pro or anything after his true junior year. But I guess he's also redshirted because of his injuries. I remember in the spring, he was like, I'm fully healthy, but he was going through his injuries from when he left Zachary to now, and it was every year, this knee, that knee, this shoulder, and then you could understand why he's had to just battle. But he made it through all spring, ready to roll. Now he's made it through the summer. Now he's in fall camp. He's healthy, and that's the key there. I mean, we're talking about a kid who was high jumping 7 feet as a freshman in high school. Like, his dad was a star on the track coming out of high school. The athleticism's there. He's got to be healthy, and it looks like he is.
Yeah,
and he's a take the top off guy,
no doubt.
I mean, he could roll.
And now with the way that Jaden Daniels seems to be confidently letting it fly. I mean, that was something that Denbrock said. They're still stressing and pushing him to do it, but he's definitely catching on. It's something, a piece that I think that LSU will feature this year is throwing the ball down the field.
Well, a lot of people say that's the missing piece. I don't know how you would agree or disagree or rank that, but a lot of people say if this offense is taking the next step. And a lot of people, being Kelly and Denbrock even, but they describe it as that explosive element of the passing game has to be added.
Yeah.
Now, that could be dumping it off to Aaron Anderson in space. That's explosive. But you have to have that downfield piece. And they have a lot of guys on roster that can do it. And it's just a matter of often knowing, even as a quarterback, the throw doesn't have to be perfect because Malik Neighbors down there or Brian, whomever is talented enough to go up and get it. And if you trust that, then you're in good shape. And we know Nussmeier will do it. I love that every time. I don't know until he's the full-time starter, he will always have the gunslinger at least mentality of this first play.
I'm going.
Yeah, you better.
Stewie thinks Malik Neighbors can be a Biletnikoff finalist.
I believe that.
Is that too much?
No, he went over 1,000 yards last year. So the only thing that would, I think, prevent him from doing that if they would just spread the ball around so much. But what's wild to me, I think he had over 1,000 yards and he had 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
I don't even know how that happens.
I know, it's tough. It's tough to do.
Very.
I mean, with as many,
you got to be running out at the 1,
right? I mean, like just as many
Madden
targets.
or something. It's
and
like
he had high catch count. I mean, it was like he had. It's a weird number. It's definitely a weird stat.
And that's not on him. I'm not saying.
No. I agree.
I think
it's
that
just one of those anomalies of football where you're like
into the red zone and then they just
punching in with Noah Kane.
Pound it.
Special teams, the options that they have at punt returner on this team, I think you kind of get the feeling like they have a playmaker back. Like they have a guy that can bust it open for you if you needed it in Aaron Anderson. Do you ultimately think he's the guy?
I do. I think that's why you went and got him. I mean, he had 20 touchdowns on special teams coming out of high school, and everybody in New Orleans said this is one of the most electric kids we've seen as a receiver and in the return game when he left Carr. And he was a big-time get for Bama. So to get him back was big. And now I think you knew he was going to be a piece in the receiver room, but there was that feeling that he was the piece to the punt return game. And they've got other options. They've had Jaylen Brown back there, Kyle Parker, a couple freshmen. Let me think who else has been back there.
Greg Clayton, who saved their season a year ago simply because he would catch it every time, which was an issue. I never thought they should have gone away from Malik Neighbors.
Yeah,
and I may sound dumb. He fumbled 2 in that opener against Florida State and never got another chance. But it just seemed to me like you then put that thought into everyone's head of like, nope, on to the next guy. And then Jack Besh, it hits off his helmet. And, he, Tennessee on the first play. Now you're on to the next guy. And it just, until Greg Clayton got in there and was just like, I can catch it every time and that'll be good enough. And he's a good athlete. But you wanted more from that position. There's no way they don't have guys on this roster that can do something for you in the return game with all the speed and athleticism they have. So the odds-on favorite is Anderson, but yes, they have options. Omar Spates and Harold Perkins were named a Butkus Award watch list yesterday. Not surprising. One name that I think that we kind of lose in the shuffle, but we'll probably see a lot of, is Whit Weeks, right? Because of just when I think linebacker, I think high talent, low depth, right? Like, I mean, you can't lose anyone, but they seem like Weeks is a guy, Whit Weeks is somebody that they are starting to trust a little bit. Greg Penn, I think, is the guy that's going to play a ton.
Yeah, I agree.
And then after Greg Penn and Spates and Perkins, you only really have the Weeks brothers. I mean, they've got only one more scholarship linebacker who's a true freshman. And, why am I blanking? What's his name, Stewie?
Christian Braithwaite.
Braithwaite. I was going to say Christian Barmore. That's the Bama old D lineman. Braithwaite. But I don't think he's a year one middle linebacker player for you, not with the guys in front of him. So I think both Weeks brothers, like I liked Wes Weeks a lot last year. Whit Weeks is an excellent player. And does he pass his brother up this year? I don't know, but both of them are going to play. Certainly on special teams too.
Whit Weeks had an interception yesterday. And
he picked Nuss off?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the red zone, I think.
Yeah, in the red zone.
So he had that pick in the spring game too. Took it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
He's a really, really good player. But I would think both Weeks brothers are going to play.
Cornerback, Deuce Chestnut.
Seems like they like him. I mean, he had a very good
first 2 years of his college career at Syracuse. He played at a high level, was an all ACC type of guy. When you see him, he does not look like what your normal like kind of shorter, not long arms, but just makes plays, and they'll take it. Right now, him and Zy Alexander are very clear cut the 1 and 2s. It's basically just been them as first team guys.
What's the message they're sending to Denver Harris? What do you make of Denver Harris's start to camp?
You're either you're buying all the way in, or you're going to run on the third team. I think it's as simple as that. Dangle the carrot. There's no way he's not talented enough to play. So we saw him play half a year last year, and he was a midseason All-SEC guy in year 1. So, and we know what he did in high school at North Shore. It's just about buying in. And we know that Kelly is not going to play any games in that regard, nor will Robert Steeples. So I think my hope is that we see a lot of Denver Harris this year. That means he is bought in, and you know, the risk that you took of taking a kid who had been in, some trouble at his last spot and had been sidelined because of it, him and a group of players at A&M. All the teams that took those guys are hoping that, hey, if they buy into our culture, we're good. And that's what you hope Brian Kelly can do.
Who's the best 2 corners on this team?
Talent-wise, Denver and Zy Alexander probably, I would say. Zy looks really good.
Where was he coming out? What was the book on him? Do you remember where he was? No.
Where is he from? Lauraville?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
right.
I think he had played baseball too. I think he was I think you look back at guys like that now, and you're like, oh, they didn't get any big, FBS offers. But then you could look back and be like, well, he was a 3-sport athlete out of a small town that, just got overlooked. And but also there's the reality that you go to a Southeastern and they develop you for 3 to 4 years, and now you're a really good player who can come in and play in the SEC. Out of all the corners they signed, I wondered with him, the jump from FCS is big. And the other kids were coming from A&M and Ohio State and Syracuse, where they're playing Florida State and all those teams every year. At Southeastern, you're not. But, boy, he is running stride for stride with Neighbors, Thomas, Lacey, all those guys. I think he looks like the best one out there.
I know we're jumping all over the place. Running backs got 8 guys, and as we mentioned, those guys will be on the way out. You mentioned Harlem Berry and James Simon. James Simon's from North Louisiana. His dad played over a decade.
Yeah, John.
In the NFL now. And is now on Hugh Jackson's staff at Grambling. What's the likelihood that they land both?
I think that they will. I do. And I think that they've got enough connections to both that will serve well, not just being from Louisiana, but Frank Wilson, a lot of people behind the scenes, Sherman Wilson, have worked with those, in John Simon's case, been around him, worked with them. In Barry's case, Frank's the mayor. He knows everybody. Right. He probably him and Harlem's dad or mom were best friends.
That's what I said. He's probably Harlem's godfather.
No, I think Jaluk is. No, for real.
I think really.
Yeah. So there's some extra motivation for Frank to shut that one down.
Wow, that's so good.
But yeah, I think that they'll get both of them. Which will be a hell of a combo coming off Durham.
Little Jay is over at U High now.
Yeah,
and
day 1 was this week.
It was on Wednesday, and
syllabus don't drop till Thursday. But little Jay, we need you to come by on Wednesday.
I said, Jay, what was today like? First thing he said, I saw Keelan 3 times.
Yes, I saw his mom posted the picture of first day of school, and the brother was in 9th grade.
Yeah, Emmanuel.
Emmanuel.
Yeah,
and he was, just above Keelan's shoulder now, and I messaged her. I was like, they're both in high school? She's time flies. Yeah, they're both about to be on the field together now.
Emmanuel, is it Moses?
Yeah.
They
both look
He's got the biggest set of hands. He's got Odell size hands like now. I mean, the kid he's freakishly built. Yeah. I mean, he's not built like Dylan and Keelan. It's kind of like Bronny and Bryce James. Like they're just 2 different type style. I mean, like when you look at Keelan and Emmanuel and Dylan, you're like, man, this one's a lot different than those 2.
And those 2 are,
like predators
cut from
they look
stone. Someone asked me, they're like, man, what are they feeding those kids? I was like, it's DNA. trust me, you'll never be able to eat anything or do anything to look like these kids.
Nothing grows from the earth that makes you look like that.
I remember when Dylan was coming through, he might have been in like 10th grade. And I mean, he was on the cover of ESPN, the magazine, in like middle school.
Yeah, 8th grade.
By 10th grade, he looked better than any dude on LSU's current team. And I remember asking his dad out at camp, like, what is his workout routine or whatever? And he was like, "That's just the jail workout routine. It's just
push-ups and
straight
pull-ups.
up push-ups and pull-ups. That's it.
Right.
No weights needed. He doesn't even.
I mean,
toss in U-High's workout schedule, and that's what you look like."
Stewie and I debate this. You'd probably be a great resource for this. I think I
Are
called,
y'all split on the vote?
I called all of Dylan's snaps
right.
at U-High. Didn't miss a snap from his freshman to junior year.
Just a dedicated fan there. Just didn't miss a snap.
No, we were doing the radio.
Oh, I know.
And I've seen Keelan play twice. And I thought Dylan is one of the top 10 players to come out of this area in the last 20 years. I think Keelan's better. He thinks Dylan is a little bit better. I think Keelan takes the nudge right here. It's a podcast debate. You know what I mean? Like you take Keelan, I'll take Dylan. Let's play.
It's like I don't think you could go wrong.
Right.
I would take either of them.
But Keelan's a little different than what
he's a little
Dylan,
bit different of a player. I think Keelan can also cover pretty well. Dylan was, I think, a lot bigger guy. Yeah, I could go either way. A little bit different players. Or do I just take the man?
Right.
I'm off from both.
That's
I'm
right.
on to the next one.
You take them both. That's right.
And let's see. Chad Jones Jr. is at U-High right now.
That's right. That's right.
There might be one or two others. U-High's got some kids on that team.
There is Collis Temple's daughter, who is a volleyball player in Jordan's grade, who's an absolute stud. I mean, there's athletes everywhere. I mean,
Rohan's son is at McNeese.
He's
now,
at McNeese.
so.
Micah.
Yeah,
He's
Micah.
at McNeese. His daughter is at Durham.
She's in college now.
She made it to college now. Okay.
Yeah, I think she was moving in today. Actually,
we've got a chat question here for Shay. Orgy Culotta asks, hashtag Ask Shay. What's the scouting report on Xavier Ford from Leesville? Dude seems to be good to pass on, but does he have an offer?
He has an offer.
Too good to pass on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he has an offer. He is your big bruising back. He's like 220, so he's not going to be a guy who flashes in the non-pad setting like he does on a Friday night. I saw him work with Harlan Berry and James Simon this summer at camp with Frank Wilson, and he doesn't catch it like those two do. He doesn't do the things like the comp for Harlan Berry is Jamal Charles. Like, that's not who Ford is. Ford is everyone put on their pads, and I'm going to run right over you. I mean, he is going into his junior year of high school over 220 pounds. So
Damn.
He could be a linebacker too as well. I think he'd be big enough to do either one. But yes, he's got an offer.
Nyquilus Dilwad, Shea, how are
His
you
names
wearing
are
pants
amazing.
and a turtleneck in Baton Rouge on August 11th?
Yeah, well, it's morning, and I went through this whole week and did no laundry because I was just kind of scramming for these Duncanville kids. And then I woke up today, and I was getting going, and Jordy's like, "We good for this morning?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got to get out of here."
Scramble out of here.
And I just grabbed the first things in the closet and rolled. So I'm going back home and taking everything off and just sitting there.
Jason Brumfield, Shea goes to Paris and hadn't stopped dressing like
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Shay's just missing a cigarette and a smoking jacket. It's good to see you. Thank you.
That's it.
I know
That's
you're
for Ask
busy.
Shay.
I know you're busy. I know
Those
you're
weren't
very
even
busy.
Ask Shays. Those were just comments.
They're just bagging on you.
I don't know if that's. I don't know.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. I'm not going to cry about it, but.
Anything on the way out? Anything we should know on the way out? Recruiting? Anything to
let's
watch
see.
here? Anything going on? Explain to me the RPM now. I know you used to do a crystal ball thing. Now it's what?
Same thing. We're
okay.
Prediction machine. September 1, Dominic McKinley. We'll see if Wardell Mack wants to do anything before his senior year, but those are your two in-state seniors that are sort of next up here that the Duncanville stuff has passed. Those are the guys we're watching.
Shay Dixon on 3. Read the work at on3.com. You can also find him on Twitter at Shay Dixon. A fantastic follow over there to keep up with all of recruiting and all of what's happening on LSU's football field here on the in the practice leading up to the season. Good stuff as always. We'll be right back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by RMB Builders.
in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge. Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on. Did you do it? Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
Can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every single time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
All right, welcome back here. Good stuff from Shay Dixon, talking recruiting. If you missed it, check it online. Remember to subscribe, like, share if you don't mind. Give us a comment. Stay involved with us here at the Jordy Culotta Show. Work happening in the new studio over the weekend. We'll have a couple of days in this studio. This is our secondary studio of where we're at on our main campus over here on Government Street, which is up for lease right now. Remember, if you're looking for a spot, you can get in touch with our friends over at Siraj Rotenberg, Matthew Shirley and the crew over there who can show this property off if you want to get inside of it. We'll be moving into our new studios over at Click Here Digital, probably somewhere around midweek next week, late next week, hopefully going live in that studio maybe a week from today or maybe the following Monday. So just stay patient with us. We'll be out of here for the next couple of days before we make the move over to our final spot. So remember, daily, we're brought to you by Katie's Restaurant. Our friends over at Katie's, get in touch with them by just logging online at katiesinmidcity.com. Been around since '84. They're on Iberville Street, right in the heart of Mid-City. Great menu, great service, great people. Scott Craig and the crew, as we announced, they've just extended their Sunday hours, their weekend hours. They're going to be open 10 to 6 on Sundays. Added 5 new televisions. So if you're looking for a little little post-game, in-game, if you want to just go check the games out over at Katie's, what a great place to watch the games over at Katie's. Katie'sInMidCity.com. Katie'sInMidCity.com is where you can find them online. And you can check them out on Iberville Street. Francesca's, which is their sister restaurant over in Lakeview, is a great spot as well. So check them out online. Everything's online, Katie'sInMidCity.com. All right, good stuff from Shea. Let's close up on this Denbrock stuff. I got to cut out of here a little after 8:30 this morning. So here is, this is, as we said, he talked about the tight end. He went back to the tight end, Stewie. This is the second cut on the tight end, talking about the versatility of that room and just how excited he is about the options that he has at the tight end position in year 2.
Adds to our versatility as an offensive unit, and we can be in 4 wide receivers and put a lot of speed on the field. We can be in 11 personnel with 3 good speed receivers and a tight end who can attach and be physical or get out in space and run routes. We can put 2 tight ends on the field and spread you out if you want to play big, heavy personnel, or tighten you up if you want to play smaller players and have that type of versatility that we didn't have a year ago to do some more of those things that we'd like. Well, it's really how we.
Here is Denbrock talking. We were talking about Chris Hilton with Shea and just how he can help. And if it's time for him, obviously been battling some injuries over the last couple of years, where he fits in amongst this very talented wide receiver room.
Yeah, I love the direction that Chris is going in. He's really, I think, as much as anybody, begin to kind of stake his claim to some playing time. He's been backing up Malik into the boundary most of it, but I think, he's a really smart player. We can move him around if we need to. He's going to play for us, and his consistency has got to continue to get worked on, but he's done so much better than at any other point, and I'm excited about where he's going. Sheldon Sampson is gifted as any wide receiver we've got on the roster. He's swimming in the deep end right now, like a lot of the younger kids are, but when he knows what to do, and he is incredible athleticism, great catch radius, can run a lot better than people give him credit for, and I'm hoping that that's just going to add to what we are if he can continue to come along.
This is one of the best bites I thought I heard yesterday, and this is Denbrock kind of comparing going into week 1 last year compared to where they are in preparation right now.
Yeah, I think, I think about going into the Florida State game a year ago, and boy, there were a lot of unknowns. And, I don't know how well they knew us, and I don't know how well we knew them. And it's just a whole different feeling and vibe around the growth that we made during the season, allowing those guys to have a little bit more of a head start into what we can possibly become if we continue to work really hard at it as fall camp goes along and as the season goes along, because that's really what we're all driving for is where you are in week 1 and where you are in week 12, 13, and in the bowl game should look different, should be different if you're doing a good job, and as players and coaches in particular. So I think we saw that last year. I think they gained confidence because of that. And we started about 3 rungs up or more from where we ever were last year when we got together in the spring, and I think that continues. So they believe in each other, and we believe in them. So it's got some excitement surrounding it for sure.
Offensive line depth is something that we've talked about a lot going into this camp, going into this season. Here's the offensive coordinator talking about that position group.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a work in progress, as it always is along the offensive line, especially when you have some true freshmen who are kind of dipping their toe in the 2 deep. That's going to be a minute, and as much as anything, have we seen things from each one of them that are really kind of catch your eye and go, boy, that's awesome. He's got a chance. There has been, and from all of those younger kids across the front, you know. I think Mason Lunsford has made some good contributions and will provide some depth inside as well. So I like the additions to the room, whether those are true freshmen or Mason in particular, who will add, I think, some depth to the position. I think it's going to be a minute before we get to the point where we kind of solidify who's going to exactly be where. But there's a lot of really good material to work with there, and I know Coach Davis is excited about it.
Some interchangeable parts on this offense. You've got skill players and you've got offensive linemen, guys that are pretty versatile. Here is Denbrock talking about all the options that he has on this year's unit.
Well, it's really how we teach it. So we teach our entire offense, especially on the perimeter conceptually, if you will. So if we're running a 3-by-1 wide receiver route, player 1 to the field on this concept has this. Player 2 has this. Player 3 has this. And I think if you teach it that way, it allows you to sometimes put who normally would be number 2 out at number 1 and he knows what to do, or number 2 at number 3, and flips guys around and put them in different spots to give the defense some different looks and kind of hide splits, hide formations, do some different things along those lines. So if they understand the concept of what you're doing, the parts become interchangeable, and you really have 5 skill guys on the field and 11 personnel at a time that you can kind of mad scientist and flip around wherever you feel like you can take advantage of the defense. And the more depth their knowledge is in understanding the concepts, regardless of position, the more versatility you can have. So that's a good thing.
Denbrock yesterday talking on his offense. That's the first time he met with the press this season, and gave some insight there on a lot of his thoughts heading into this fall camp, or amongst this fall camp heading into the season. So good stuff. Appreciate everybody being involved this morning. As a good week here, as a lot of exciting stuff happening. Thanks for everybody being involved. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button. As you said, as we've told you, we're going through this move right now. We'll be over at Click Here Digital, a part of their campus coming up, hopefully, like we said, over the next week as construction is underway over on that campus, and we're bringing you our show into the fall from Click Here Digital Studios and beyond. So really excited about a lot of the changes that are happening around here, and the next step in the process here for the Jordy Culotta Show as it continues to grow and continues to take steps down the road, man. It's been an incredible journey to get up to this point, and now taking a partnership with a company like Click Here Digital, who is so well respected and has a great reputation, is something that's very exciting for all of us over here, man. Stewie, Lloyd, myself, the whole crew, as we get going towards another step in the journey here for the show. So as always, we appreciate you being a part of it. Remember our friends over at Go Roof, GEAUX roof.com. Get in touch with Go Roof today, whether it is a commercial roofing project or whether you need residential roofing installed. You can count on the pros over at Go Roof. Remember, a beautiful roof every single time. You get a 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations. You can get a free quote online just by logging on at GEAUXroof.com, 225-927-8300. Remember, Go Roof and the professionals remind you, don't ever sign a contract without meeting with your roofer. You can count on Go Roof for roof repair, roof installation, roof maintenance. They can do it all for you. If you want to find a trusted roofer today, call our friends over at Go Roof, 225-927-8300, 225-927-8300, or online at GEAUXroof.com, GEAUXroof.com. Go Roof, you get the free quote, you get free and quick roof inspections. They got over 15 years of quality experience. They're licensed and insured, and they've been proudly supporting the local community since 2005. Hook up with our friends over at Go Roof. If you need a new roof today, you can count on our friends. A beautiful roof every single time. Online, GEAUXroof.com. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you Monday morning right here, live, 7 a.m., getting you ready for another week. As we count down, we'll have some preseason football we can talk about. We'll have some more camp action from LSU football that we'll be able to discuss. All that and more coming to you on Monday's edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by R&B Builders. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you see the notification. We about to go live. We got all your favorite guests. We got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time. Yeah. Hey, Chino. Put my headphones up. Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification. We about to go live. We got all your favorite guests. We got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show. Come have a good time. It's the hottest show around. We ain't got to flex. Call up G, we get it done. We earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in. Where they going next? Throw up the L's, now we lit. Band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live. Mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines. Come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show. Yeah, Monday through